All right, well, welcome back, everybody. This is the Creation Liberty podcast, and this is going to be show number what? Hold on a second. I have that written down. Show number 28, February 27th is today, 2012. My name is Chris Johnson. I'm the founder of Creation Liberty Evangelism, where our purpose is to win the lost to Christ and to teach the truth of God's Word and science. And we believe God's Word is true and accurate historically and scientifically. We believe in the literal account of Genesis, that the world was created roughly 6,000 years ago in 6 literal 24-hour days. And we not only believe that we only believe that evolution is a dumb theory, but also it's a dangerous and destructive religion. That's the important part of that. So if you're watching a recording from YouTube, you can always join us live chat Mondays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Monday at creationliberty.com. Just click the link that says podcast. You can join us in chat to post your comments and questions. So basically we're going to jump right into the topic today, which is going to be more on evolution and morality, because I've been covering some stuff. I wrote an article this week, and I'll tell you in a minute, we're going to cover, well, basically what we're going to do is cover what the article talks about. There are, for those that believe in evolution, there are 4 basic arguments the evolutionists will make. And not only are we going to cover what those arguments are, and that they're all logical fallacies, all 4 of them, but I'm going to show you an example of apparently a very well-known atheist and evolutionist on YouTube who did a speech, I guess, in front of hundreds of people and many, many scientists, in which he used all 4 of them in the same speech. And I'm going to show you exactly, we're not only going to show you what they are, I'm going to demonstrate it from the atheist's own mouth. So let's go ahead and get started in that. Now, basically, I guess let's go here. I'm going to get into this. Here we go. This is the article, and if you want, what I'll do is I'm going to post a link to this. If you're watching this from YouTube, I'll post a link to this article in the comments so you can read it there. But the first argument they use is majority opinion right here. Number 1, ad populum is what that's called. It's a logical fallacy. This is from a book called A Return to Common Sense, which it's not common sense at all, by a guy named Thomas Mullen. He actually sent me his book a long time ago. If you check out our YouTube channel, I've got a review of his book, and it's ridiculous some of the arguments he makes in there. But check this out. In his book, he said, the right to life is pretty easy to understand. He's explaining why people have a right to life, according to his atheistic worldview. He said most civilized societies have laws against murder. Therefore, each individual has a right not to be killed. It's arguing for majority opinion. See, the reason a majority opinion doesn't work is because, basically, majority opinion proves nothing. Okay, let's use YouTube as an example of majority opinion. You could have a video that teaches the truth. Okay, you could have a bunch of people that don't like the truth and they downvote it. Because it gets a lot of downvotes, does that mean it's not true? No, that doesn't prove anything. And that's just a simplistic way of explaining it. Basically, the majority opinion argument, just if the mass majority can be convinced that something, if they can be convinced that something is right or something is wrong, then it becomes right or wrong automatically. Okay, just for example, if the abortion issue, okay, abortion is wrong. It is murder according to the Bible. However, if evolution is true, the majority, a long time ago may have thought that, abortion was wrong, and now the majority is slowly becoming convinced that abortion is right, and now people are starting to, now does abortion magically become right if the majority decides that it's okay? And then what if in a few years the majority decides, well, wait a second, abortion's not right at all? Does it then become wrong because the majority decide that? You see, it flips back and forth. There's no answer there. So it's a logical fallacy. Continuing on, appeal to emotion. This is number 2. This is a very popular one that I've seen almost every evolutionist do. They always appeal to emotion. This is a quotation from Robert Wright here. The moral animal is what this says in this appeal to emotion. He says, the conscience makes us feel as if we have done something that's wrong or something that's right, guilty or not guilty. It is amazing that a process as amoral and crassly pragmatic as natural selection could design a mental organ that makes us feel as if we're in touch with a higher truth. Okay? He's arguing from emotion. Well, basically, some people, oftentimes what I'll do is I'll say, well, according to the evolution worldview, and I've had many, atheists and people like that I've talked to, and I'll switch the screen back real quick. Many atheist evolutionists I've talked with who will, I'll tell them, okay, according to the evolution worldview, why is murder wrong? Why is it wrong to, if somebody had some, food or other stuff that you wanted and you killed them and took it, why is that wrong? And you know what the response usually is? I can't believe. I said, are you telling me you don't think it's wrong to do that? That is not what I said. I asked you, I'm looking for your perspective from the atheist worldview. Why is that wrong? I know the Bible tells me that that is wrong. Okay, you can't do that. But according to the atheist worldview, why is it wrong? And they never can give me an answer for that. There was one lady I was talking with. She was actually the editor to the book I mentioned earlier, that Thomas Mullen, The Return to Common Sense. She was the editor of that book, and we were having a discussion. She said, basically I asked her the question. She says, well, if you came up and you stabbed someone, to kill them, she says, that causes them so much pain. I said, okay, let's say somebody was paralyzed from the neck down, and you stab them, but they can't feel it. Is it okay to kill them because they can't feel it? Totally stumped her. She never would address that point. She continued talking to me for a while. We finally had to end the conversation because she just wouldn't, she was unwilling to even address the points I was making, and she knew she didn't have an answer to that one, so she never would address it. And that really, it kind of gets them right between the eyes because they're not expecting that one. So, if you feel, now you as an atheist, if you're watching this or an evolutionist, you may feel murder is wrong. However, Osama bin Laden may feel differently. So because he feels that murder is right, does that make it right because he feels that way? And you'll say, well, no, because we have laws against murder. Yeah, but now you're going back to majority opinion. The majority decides there's a law, and so therefore we make a law and say that's wrong, but you still don't have a justification for it. So you have to have an all-powerful, you have to have an almighty authority, okay? Which is going to get us into our third point. But you see, God, the God of the universe, the true living God, the God of the Bible, is the only living God there is. All the other gods are false gods, okay? And this God, he created the universe. He has all knowledge over everything in the universe. He knows everything there is to know about it. So he is the only authority that we can go to settle this issue. However, what the evolutionists like to do is my third point. This is going to be what we call appeal to authority. And what they do is they appeal to mankind's authority to try to get them, they'll say, well, the experts believe, blah, 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 and we will get to that one very shortly when we get to the video I'm going to show you. But then the last one is appeal to nature. This from Richard Gray, from Animals Can Tell Us Right from Wrong, in the Telegraph, that was May 23rd, 2009, he said, animals possess a sense of morality that allows them to tell the difference between right and wrong. Arguing, this is an appeal to nature. It is a logical fallacy. And I wrote on here, many years ago, I went out to a pond on campus at Ohio State University. This is true. We did this. I did this with a friend of mine to watch the ducks. We were out there at this pond. And those of you who've gone to Ohio State University, you know that on that campus there, you know the pond that I'm talking about because they always, it's kind of cute. We watch over, all the baby ducks come out and people feed them Cheetos, which I'm certain is probably the last thing they need to be eating. But anyway, when we were there, about 25 feet away from us, a male duck came over to a female duck, and the male duck tried to sexually mount her. The female attempted to escape, but he grabbed her neck with his beak. We saw the blood on his neck afterwards, and he forced himself on her. So if ducks do this in nature, then is it morally okay for men to assault and rape women? And I've got this picture on here. No means nothing to a duck. So, but that's an interesting question. I mean, is it okay for men to assault and rape women? Well, I mean, because animals are doing it in nature. If a lioness eats her cub, which happens occasionally, okay, a lioness will eat her cub. Is it okay for a human to, a female mother to, eat her baby? Is that acceptable behavior? See, our appeal to nature, what they'll do is they'll typically, they'll find an action an animal does that, the evolutionist says, oh, I like that. But then they'll ignore all the things that they do that may not be politically correct for them to say whether it's right or wrong, So that's what it's always it's very interesting the way they argue. They tend to point out one specific thing, but then they'll ignore the rest of the arguments. So anyhow, those are the four things, okay? Reviewing them again, it's majority opinion, appeal to emotion, appeal to authority, and appeal to nature. These are now I'm more than willing to be corrected. There could possibly be more of these, okay? But these four, are the ones that I see. These are the general four that atheists and evolutionists will argue from to try to say there is morality without including the Bible. Okay, if you want to exclude God, you want to exclude the Bible, and you want to claim that you have morality, then you have to build a case for why you think certain things are moral. So then, basically what had prompted me to write this was I saw the first part of a series of 5 by a guy named AronRa. Now I have no idea. Apparently he's, what I found out this week, he's extremely popular on YouTube. I had no idea. I don't know who the guy is, and I don't care. Okay, like I said, I told him he could be the Queen of England for all I know, and it doesn't really matter to me who he is. The point is that I'm looking at the argument he's making, okay? The Bible says that God is not a respecter of persons, and neither am I, okay? And so I checked out, he's got a video series called The Evolution of Morality. I'll provide a link to the first of those in the comments section if you want to go check that out yourself. In this video, he makes all 4 of these logical fallacies as the basis for his argument in evolution and morality. So we're going to take a look at some of these. I need to get to my notes here real quick. Now, what you need to know before we go to these videos is that he spends basically, I mean, most of the first 10 to 15 minutes bashing Christians and creationists. That's really all he does. I mean, well, not all he does, but he spends from what I understood, and other people have told me about this guy recently in this week, and basically that's what he spends half his time doing, is just bashing Christians and creationists. This is a man that hates the Bible. It's not really about the logic of the situation. He hates that book. And so, well, rightfully so. I mean, a lot of people hate that book because it chaps their hide, and that, of course, it, tells them things that they, you can't do things that you want to do, so they want to reject it, and that's what usually happens. But as I was watching this video, I was like, when is he going to start building a case for morality and evolution? He doesn't start doing it until about a third of the way through his talk, which, I was almost ready to shut it off until he finally started doing it. And then, so let's see here. I'm going to go through a few of the things that he says here. Now, the first one, I'm not going to show this first one, but basically he starts out, you can go back and watch it. If you go to 2 minutes and 30 seconds, he talks about at the beginning of his talk that he went to the experts, scientific experts and philosopher experts. He went to all the experts to get their opinion on what is right and wrong. Well, that's an appeal to authority, folks. That's a logical fallacy in itself. That's not going to determine right and wrong. Whatever the experts think, and depending, I mean, who defines who's an expert over what right and wrong is either? I would be very interested to know that one. But anyhow, let's go on to, I'm going to fast forward to the first part of his video. This is just going to be the first part of 5. And basically, I was very interested in what he said here at the end. I'm going to switch this over so we can take a listen to what he says. Hopefully I have this loud enough. Here we go.
If you believe in God, and you believe that God created the universe, that He designed all life, but that He designed and employed natural laws and causes to that end, then you are not a creationist. Because a creationist rejects evolution by definition.
Now, did you hear that? Basically, he said, if you believe that God created the world, and He created natural laws, which He did, he says, then you're not a creationist. Basically, what he's trying to do is give an option, only a one-way option into this thing, which is not true, okay? But he never defines what he means by evolution. If by evolution he means the microvariation, well, I accept microevolution. I don't have a problem with that. It's just variations between the kind. But if he wants to say macroevolution, you have to accept that. Because what he tries to say is that creationists deny evolution. I don't deny evolution. I want you to teach evolution if you use facts to back it up. But don't use lies to back it up. That's all I'm saying, okay? And macroevolution and all stages prior are indeed lies. They're not based on any evidence whatsoever. They're all based on speculation and assumption. That's all they have for that one. So when he says things like this, it's really surprising that he, well, I mean, I guess it's not, because I think he's really in front of an entire crowd of atheists, so that's all they got, so they have to do that. But this is interesting what he does next. He brings up a couple definitions. Let's take a look at those real quick, because I found them quite useful.
Because what they really object to is naturalism. They quite literally support the idea that everything happened by magic.
Okay, so he says that creationists are, he's saying that everything that they believe in that happens by magic is what he's claiming here. Now, magic, according to the definitions he has here, is the use of means believed to have supernatural power over natural forces. Folks, that is the definition of evolution. When I read these, I was laughing. I was like, did you not even look at this? You see, just like I've talked about before in other podcasts we've done, and on my website, dogs produce dogs, horses produce horses, bears produce bears. This is all we've ever seen. Now, if you want to believe that long ago and far away, something non-horse produced a horse, you now believe in something that goes beyond nature. See, nature is what we can observe. You should go to our website and check out Evolution, a New Age Religion, the article we have on there. I'll try to provide a link for that in the comments as well. On YouTube, so you can check that out. That'll give you all the definitions and show you clearly, just by definition, evolution is magic. And evolution invokes all sorts of miracles ascribed to a supernatural cause. It's something that goes beyond what we observe, okay? It goes into what you believe. It goes into a religion, okay? And that is, I was like, wow, I can't believe he put those up there, because that's so helpful for the creationists, that evolution is, according to the definitions he put up there, magic and miracles. That was pretty interesting. So let's go on to, let's see here, I got to look up my notes here and figure out what I'm doing. Sorry, I'm trying to get all this organized as best I can. Yeah, I think we're going to go on to part 2 of his video. Now, when I go to part 2 here, you're going to see the videos that he's showing in the background. What you see here is an elephant actually painting an elephant onto, apparently what they did, there's a video you can go watch. If you just type in elephants painting on YouTube, you'll actually find that there are elephants they have, I think in Thailand, they train them from when they're babies to do this. They train them, they're not painting on their own. They're trying to, some people, the atheists will sometimes put these on here to try to give the portrayal that, oh, these, elephants are evolving, they're so smart, they're doing art and things like that. No, what they're doing is they're following patterns. They've been rewarded to do different patterns. This is no different than, trying to teach a monkey sign language, or teach a parrot to talk, so to speak. They're basically, all they're doing is, the monkey says, if I make this hand sign, then I get cookie. That's that's not speech patterns. That's not that kind of communication. They think they're going to get treats for doing things well, and they do. So that's why they do them. And so these elephants are trained to do this for a while. But let's take a listen to what he says here, because he finally starts talking about, he starts building a case for evolution and morality. But he begins by saying that he does not have a definition of good or evil. So let's take a look at this.
Society. We don't even have a rigid definition of what good or evil even means.
And we stop right there. We don't have a definition of what good or evil even means. If you don't have a definition of what it means, then how are you going to build a case for what you think right and wrong means? If you can't tell me what right and wrong is, how do you... basically, as soon as he said we don't have a definition for what good or evil means, I was like, end of discussion. You lost. That's it. And basically, you're going to see this come up over and over. He basically said, we don't know what good and evil means, but he attempts over and over to tell people what good and what evil is and where morality came from. Well, how can you even know you're moral if you don't know what good and evil is? That's amazing to me that he even stated that. So I'm going to fast forward here to just about 20 seconds after this, and listen to what he says here. Let me switch this over for you.
And we should behave like animals, which means we should run around killing and raping each other, destroying all in wild abandon. But the problem with that is just like the problems that were just like the photographs that were shown.
And I know it's hard for you guys to hear him, and I apologize for that volume. I just want, basically I'm showing this, I want you guys to see that I'm not just making this up, I'm showing you right from his video what he's saying. Basically what he's saying, is like, if some of the creationists are trying to say, well, if evolution is true, we should just go around killing and raping and doing whatever. He says, no, that's not what we should do. Well, what he says in this sentence, what he's saying now really doesn't concern me, because he doesn't have a definition of good and evil. I'm pointing out that he's labeling killing and raping as bad, as evil. So you're telling us what's evil, but you said you don't know what's evil. Folks, he's arguing on both sides of his mouth there, all right? And basically all these that he's coming, I mean, killing, raping, things like that, that's things that he's going to be, I mean, technically he's arguing from emotion here. I guarantee you he would come across and say, well, these people would feel bad if you did these things to them, or I feel that it's wrong. You're arguing from emotion. You don't really have an answer to that kind of thing. So let's check out the next one that he says. Let's see here. I got to keep going over my notes here. I'm trying to stay on topic. And here's another thing. He spends so much time attacking the Bible in this, and I found this really interesting because I got to this point and I was like, this is amazing. He's trying to say that the Bible is wrong because it says you can do this, this, and this, and this, and he lists off things that he thinks is morally bad. If you're going to say the Bible is wrong or the Bible is evil, or God is wrong or God is evil, then you have to have a basis of morality you're coming from to even make that claim. If you can't, I mean, look, you have to understand, maybe they're just not getting it. And I'm wondering why nobody in the audience even, stopped the guy and said, wait a second, there's something not right here. These people claim to be skeptics, but they're not really, they're skeptical of everything except the evolution theory. That is holy and sacred. That's a holy sacred cow. You can't touch that one. But how is it possible that he is supposed to attack the Bible on morals when he doesn't have a moral foundation to start with? You can't say the Bible's wrong using the Bible's definition of right and wrong. If you want to say, well, the Bible, God orders, the Israelites to kill these people. Okay, well, what are you using as your basis of morality? Well, the Bible says killing's wrong. Okay, we can't say you can't say God is evil and wrong by using God's definitions of good and evil. I don't know why they think they have an argument to do this kind of thing. It's a little bit ridiculous. So, anyhow, and again, guys, I want to make mention to you here. I want to stop for a moment and mention that this guy, this AronRa guy, I've invited him to come on the show. He's refused to send me an email. He doesn't want to do that. From what I gathered, based on some of the comments he said, he says, oh yes, please invite me on your show. I really want to talk about this. I said, okay, send me an email telling me you accept the invitation. And he said, I refuse to do that. You're not going to get an email from me. Okay, well, I'm just going to put him down on my list of refusals then. I think what he's more doing is just giving the impression that he wants to come and have a discussion so it impresses his atheist subscribers, but he doesn't really want to come and do that. So that's unfortunate. I don't see a reason he needs to act that way. I'm not trying to be mean to him or anything like that, but I want him to be able to give a justification for this stuff. And so far from this thing, he's not given us anything yet. It's so... usually you can give a little something a little substance that they're trying to give, but here he's not giving anything at all. So let me go to the next point here. I got to bring back up my screen because I keep knocking it down. Let me see here. He just claimed that there's no influence over his decisions, even if there is a definition. Yeah, this one's really interesting. Now listen carefully. I hope you guys can hear this. Listen carefully to this one. Let me switch it over for you.
Other animals don't act like that, and neither, oddly enough, do those of us whose morality is neither influenced nor enforced by any threat of damnation.
So, what he said, our morality is not influenced or forced by any threat of damnation, meaning that he has no consequences for his actions. That means he has nothing that influences anything over morality, so basically everything just comes down to what he feels or what the majority thinks. Again, it's logical fallacy. I was really surprised that he even said that. But let's go on to another point that he's going to make. And basically, and I'm going to have to skip some of what he says. About the next 10 minutes of his video I skipped, because all he's doing is showing fossils. How is that going to help your evidence for right versus wrong? It's ridiculous. He just goes through fossils, and I started to get bored with that, and finally he got to another point. Let's go to, we're going to go to the third video, and I'm going to switch this over for you here again. Third video, about 4 minutes and 10 seconds in, let's listen to what he says.
Just as mathematically obvious that a creature that does not eat its young has an evolutionary advantage over one that will, it is that much more advantageous to have a parent who dedicates their own existence towards preservation of their spawn.
Yeah, the preservation of their kind is what he's saying. So basically, if you didn't hear what he's saying, he's attempting to say that if parents give birth to cubs or whatever, and they're protecting their young, they have a better chance of survival. Three problems with this. Number one, it's appeal to nature. Again, go back and read our article. Appealing to nature is a logical fallacy. Number two, how do you know it's good for parents to protect their cub and it's evil for them not to do it? You just said you don't have a definition of good and evil or right and wrong, so how can you claim something's right or wrong when you don't have a definition for it? I mean, that's that's crazy. And third, let's see, I wrote here, because I was stayed up late doing these notes last night because I had to work today, but this is for an animal, beneficial mutations to take over population. Oh yeah, so basically, I mean, if an animal is born and it has a slight mutation that's a little bit better than the rest of the creatures around it, what has to happen for the rest of them in order for this new mutation to take over the population? They got to die. I mean, because if you start blending him back into the population, you're going to lose the new improved gene. So, I mean, the evolution being a religion of death that it is, I mean, you can't explain why death is a bad thing. I mean, there's no possible way to do that. Then skipping ahead here, let's hear 541. I have listed here the foundation of his argument is appeal to nature again and again, and so we'll take another example of that. Let me switch this over, and I will skip ahead to 540 here, and we'll listen to what he has to say.
Mentality. It's like the old joke where two guys are running from a bear, and one says, "You can't outrun a bear." And the other one says, "I don't have to. I just have to run faster than you." Critics of evolution would say that this sort of callous selfishness, looking out for number one, is the best we can expect from natural selection. But what if both men turn prepared to defend each other?
Okay, so basically, in case you didn't hear that, I mean, he says, that, if people, are looking out for themselves, he says, but what if, the group gets together and they fight together and that kind of thing? Well, still, you don't have if you leave someone to die to save yourself, why is that evil? Why is that wrong? Aaron, you said, if that's his name, I don't even know if that's his name or not, but Aaron, listen, I'm going to call you Aaron. If you just started the entire speech, I mean, you basically just collapsed your entire house of cards at the beginning of your speech when you said, I don't have a definition for wrong. So how can you say that's wrong, or that's the wrong way to handle things? And you do this over and over. You keep appealing to nature over and over, even though you said you don't have a definition of right and wrong. I mean, I was really shocked that he spent so much time doing this when it's all logical fallacy. It's all based on nothing. And then, of course, we get to video number 4, and I'm going to go through a couple things here. Because I found, and here's the video I'm going to show you next. Basically, not the video I'm going to show you next, but basically, the video in the video, that's what I'm trying to say, that he's showing here is a group of bison that apparently protect one of their young that's being attacked by lions and a crocodile at the same time. I've actually seen this one quite a few times before I ever watched it here. And let me see here. I gotta make sure I make a note of that. Okay, predictions. Okay, then so basically what he's showing here is that they go and they all protect this one, this youngling, and he's trying to say that this is good, even though he doesn't have a definition of good. He's trying to say that it's good. Let's listen and see what he says about this one.
Where the lions will work together, they won't be able to take him down because his brethren will not allow it. This is where morality comes from.
Are you joking? I mean, look, Aaron, I'm not trying to ridicule you, buddy, but this speech, I don't know that you read this speech. I mean, did you actually go back and read it and proofread it? Did you go back and listen to yourself talk about it before you actually decided to present it to hundreds and thousands of people? This is terrible. I mean, there is no argument here. You're saying this is where morality comes from, but yet you said you don't have a definition of right and wrong. You can't claim this is right and not have a definition of what right is. You can't say that, all these bison coming back to protect this, youngling is right. I mean, on what basis is that right from the evolutionary worldview? Okay? And again, it's like I said, it's appeal to nature. It's a logical fallacy. Going on to the next on the notes. Now this one was amazing to me. Now what you're going to see here when I fast forward to this is a picture. Now I thought it was kind of funny because of the implication that it's making And basically it's giving I guess, a pedophilic implication. I know that sounds weird that would be funny, but once you see, I'll switch over here to the picture. And this is what he showed, to get a laugh out of the audience and all that. And I thought it was mildly comical. But what shocked me was what the cameraman said. Now listen to this closely.
No morals at all.
Now he said no morals at all. That's what Aaron said, okay? Claiming pedophilia is wrong. And I would say, according to the Bible, yes, that's wrong. But according to the evolution worldview, why would that be wrong?
I laughed for 15 minutes.
Wrong on so many levels.
What? Wait, why is that wrong on so many levels? Where is your definition of wrong? I just couldn't believe that they keep saying this over and over. I mean, it's like Aaron is walking to this thing blind and deaf completely to everything that's going on. And everybody else in the audience has their blindfolds and their earplugs in too, so that way they can't understand or hear anything either. Because I mean, this should be obvious to anybody. There's huge logical fallacy here. Okay, I'm not saying that like rape, pedophilia, murder, and things like that, those are wrong. But I have a biblical justification. I go to the source of all knowledge in the universe who says that is wrong. But I want to know, if you're going to remove that source of all knowledge, then I want to know how you're defining that. And after, of course, Aaron basically, when he said, the order I got from it, and maybe I'm wrong, the order I got from it is that he went on and looked at some of my shows and then decided he was going to refuse to send me an email confirmation to accept to come on the show. I can understand why. After watching the speech, I mean, the guy doesn't have any kind of justification for evolution and morality, and so I can understand why he doesn't want to come on the show. I mean, friendly or not, I mean, that kind of embarrassed him, so I can understand that. And I just want to say, Aaron, I do understand why you don't want to come. So it's okay. But if you ever change your mind in the future, I'll go ahead and take you off our list, and I'd be happy to have you on. So just if you change your mind, send me an email, let me know. So anyway, let's go to the next point. We're almost done here. We'll get through a couple more of these points. And here, okay, let's go to the 10-minute mark here. He's appealing to nature via monkeys. Let's try this again. I'm just going to give you a few examples of his appeal to nature.
Masturbation, but they haven't gone blind or succumbed to any of the other ravages of sin that so many of the moral majority have warned us against.
Yeah, he was describing at that point. I mean, you can go back and watch these yourself. Like I said, I'll provide links in the YouTube comments. But basically, he was talking about how monkeys are doing all these sinful things. Well, how do you know they're sinful? See, he's using the Bible's definitions of morality to try to argue against the Bible. Oh, wow. What do you even say to that? I mean, that has got to be, you have got the blinders on so deep. I mean, how do you even talk to something like that? I don't know. But let's see here. The next one, yeah, we'll go to video number 5 then, and we'll be almost done here. I mean, basically, he appeals to emotion multiple times in this. Here's another one at 45 seconds into part number 5. Here we go.
And they already had a sense of how others must feel.
See that again? There it is. Appeal to emotion, folks. That's what I was talking about. He appeals to emotion. And that's why he's showing this here. He says, he was talking about, and you can listen to him talk about, he talks about how there is, these animals are empathetic and they understand one another and blah, blah, blah. Well, you have to understand, why is that right? You said you don't have a definition of right. Again, here we go, circle after circle after circle. This guy doesn't have an argument at all. He's not building any kind of case for evolution morality. He's just appealing to everyone's feelings, or appealing to majority opinion, or appealing to nature, which are all logical fallacies. And again, here's another appeal to emotion at 248, and let's go to that one, and I'll switch it over for you so we can see what he says.
More generously, and that probably gave us the edge. We often imagine that if we built intelligent robots, or if we ever encountered extraterrestrial aliens, that they would think like we do. Or if they didn't have our emotions, then they would be completely logical and have no emotions at all.
Yeah, well, if they were completely logical and had no emotions at all, I mean, I guess he's implying that that's going to help his situation? I don't know, but you see, where he's going to is trying to appeal again to his feelings, how he feels about certain things. That's not an argument, Aaron. I mean, that's a logical fallacy. Logical fallacy means you're not using your logic. Okay, you're not using your reason. You're not using your mind to really think about what you're saying. You're just saying it so that way you have some sort of excuse. It's not really an argument, it's an excuse. Because you want to believe in evolution, which is perfectly fine. You can believe whatever you want. I don't care what you guys believe. But don't go around teaching this as if you have an answer for this kind of stuff. I mean, that's lying to people, trying to tell them that. Now, you may not know. If you didn't know that these were logical fallacies, that's fine. You weren't lying, you just didn't know. But you need to go back and correct your series, Aaron. And if you don't correct your series, then yes, you are lying. And yes, the Bible says that is wrong. And yes, you will be judged by that in the end, unless you accept Jesus Christ, like I did and like some others have done. If you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you will be saved from that, and you can join God in heaven. But if you don't want that, and you want an eternity in hell, well, that's your decision. That's your business. That's your choice. And I'm not going to get in the way of that. But I am going to object when you're teaching lies. I'm not going to allow that to go on without some sort of objection. So going back to, I think that's, well, and then I also wanted to say, when he's appealing to emotion, this is another good point. I mean, Jack Kevorkian, he killed about 130 people, and I mean his reason. I mean he killed 130 people, claiming to be compassionate to them. So, because he felt compassion on these people to kill them, is it acceptable to kill these people because he felt like it? I mean, again, you're not appealing to emotion doesn't get you anywhere. Okay. And then there's another one. I'm not even going to show this one because I feel it's a waste of time to go on to show this one. On part 5, if you look at part 5 of his series, at 4 minutes and 45 seconds, he says, "Those who kill lack compassion." Well, again, Jack Kevorkian had compassion for those he were killing. And it's appeal to emotion. On top of that, he's given us no reason that murder is evil at all. Okay, he hasn't given us a reason why rape is evil, why pedophilia is evil, none of that. And then the grand finale. This is the one I want you to see. Now, what you're going to see in this one, this is the grand finale of the whole thing. I finally burst out laughing when I finally saw this at the end. And what you're going to see, the darkness you're seeing go throughout the sky, I think these are robins. I'm not particularly certain, but if they aren't, robins do the exact same thing. What you're going to see is... and I don't know if you guys know this about robins. The next time you're driving down, we have lots of cornfields out here in Indiana, especially after harvest time and all that. You can watch huge flocks of robins fly around, and you'll notice if you're driving down, you're watching them. They will go one direction, then suddenly the whole group will go another direction. Then they go back the direction before, and they keep going around in circles. They don't go anywhere. Why is that? Well, this is what I've been told about how robins operate. One bird will decide, hey, I want to go that direction. So they'll go this direction. Then all the birds around him saying, oh, he's going over there, we should go over there too. Then all the ones around them say, oh, he's going over there, we should go there too. And that's how they do this. One of them will decide, well, I want to go this direction, and all of them will immediately react to that. They're not acting as one. They're all random birds going in random directions, and everybody's just following suit. Where's the wind blowing? I guess that's the way we'll go. And that's exactly what evolutionists and atheists do concerning anything, whether it comes to law or political matters or anything, religious things or whatever it is, politically correct statements or anything. I mean, you name it. Wherever the wind blows, that's the way they go. It's all a majority opinion argument. But I mean, he puts this video on there, and I couldn't believe he put it on there. I mean, this shows exactly what the evolutionists are doing. They're all, have no idea where they're going. They're just following one another into nowhere, and they go back and forth. And you can watch these birds; they're going back and forth in no general direction. And so we'll skip ahead here. Let me get to the proper spot, and I'm going to show you. Listen to what he says here in this part right here.
Compassion and knowledge and perception. Curiosity may have killed a cat, but it made us who we are today. So the default position and natural condition of humanity desires to lean toward love, pity, and charity, which are all dependent on some degree of empathy, which evidently evolved with and is thus integral to socially cooperative animals.
Now, did you see how those birds in the video that he's showing there, how they keep going back and forth? They're not going in any general direction. That's my point. I mean, that really does sum up atheism and evolutionism according to a moral foundation. And so I want to quote for you that last statement he just said. I want to read this to you carefully. Now listen carefully. He said, the natural condition of humanity desires to lean toward love, pity, and charity. Now look, love, pity, and charity, why are those good? He said he had no definition of what was good, but yet now he's telling people these things are good. He has no idea what he's talking about. He says, which are all dependent on some degree of empathy. That's appeal to emotion. Again, he has no idea what he's talking about. Which evidently, he continues, which evidently evolved with socially cooperative animals. And that's an appeal to nature. He has no idea what he's talking about. This whole time, he's written this huge speech to where he collapsed his house of cards right in the beginning, around the 6-minute mark. And then after that, everything is just senseless. There's no sense to any of it whatsoever. And then I guess the final one, I'll show you one more example of something he does. He points out things that are, even though he says he has no definition for evil, he points out things that he thinks are evil. Check this out.
Killers and thieves, and that's why most of us don't even want.
Let's try that again.
That's why we can't all be liars and killers and thieves, and
that's why we can't all be liars and killers and thieves. That's what he just said. How do you know that lying is wrong and evil? You didn't define that. How do you know that killing is wrong and evil? You didn't define that. How do you know that theft is wrong and evil? You didn't define that. So where's his argument? He never built a case for morality. He just said, here's how I feel, and here's what we should all think. Okay, well, you can be happy and lovey-dovey if you want about all that, I guess, but you have no argument whatsoever for morality. And if you're going to try to use the Bible's definitions of morality to try to say the Bible's wrong, then you've lost. You've fallen off your rocker, I guess is the term for that. So now I wanted to remind you guys what I wrote in this article when I predicted these 4 things. Keep in mind, I did not write this before, or I did not write this after I watched his entire video series. I saw his first one. I saw the first clip of his series. Okay, last week, it was I think Thursday or Friday, I wrote that Q&A section that I just showed you guys. The link's in the comments. You can go check that out over evolution and morality. Predicting what, based on all I've had lots of conversations about morality, without God and things like that, to all sorts of atheists and evolutionists. And I just wrote down the 4 basic arguments they use, which are all logical fallacies. This was before I finished watching the rest of the 4 parts of his series, and by the time we ended it, he used all 4 logical fallacies as the basis for his morality. And folks, that's a sad state of affairs. And we got a few comments. Jewel says, fell off his rocker, bet that leaves a bruise. Well, it probably will. I think it'll probably bruise his pride more than anything. And again, some of the responses he gave to me on the YouTube comments weren't all that charitable and, pity and love that he keeps preaching. He didn't really have those in there. He basically, the second, basically I said, I would like to have you on to discuss evolution and morality. His first response was, yes, bring me, exclamation points, bring me on there to discuss, morality in the Bible. That's not what I said. I said morality and evolution, because you can't argue against the Bible unless you have a moral foundation you're coming from to argue against the Bible. And you can't do it with your feelings because you're just arguing emotion. Around and around it goes. I don't have no idea. This guy, I think his YouTube channel is something, he's got like 65,000 subscribers. And these are the kind of videos he's putting out. Basically, that proves one thing. I think the majority of YouTube does not really want the truth. That's about it. They want to be entertained, and it seems like his channel is more for entertainment than it is for real education. Otherwise, he would... and Jewel says, now Aaron, I'm sorry if you're watching this. This is just one of the people that's in our chat room talking our show. He says, is this guy from a hippie commune? I did not say that. That was one of the people on our show. Okay. So I'm just saying what some of the people are talking about. And some people are questioning morality from the beasts. Yeah, I know, it's amazing. So what they'll do is they'll selectively, like take for example the meerkat community. I don't know if you guys ever saw, I think Discovery Channel put out a show called Meerkat Manor. I watched a season or 2 of that. It was really fun. I love meerkats. They're so cool. And so a lot of times what they'll do is if someone's injured or hurt or something, they'll turn around and attack and save that person. But also, there's other things that they'll do, like, they'll, if the matriarch of the society doesn't like someone, she'll just kick him out and leave him to die. So which one's moral? Is it moral? How can you tell if saving someone is morally good or morally evil, and how can you tell if kicking someone out is morally good or morally evil? Well, it all comes down to how you feel, which is an appeal to emotion and a logical fallacy. Sorry, guys, you don't have any kind of basis for evolution and morality. Now, next week, oh, well, great. Somebody said that our podcast is coming through loud and clear. Thank you for verifying that, because I've been wanting to know whether we're actually getting through better than we used to. Now, what I wanted to mention, though, was that next week I've got a guy. Now, he's not yet given me his name, location, all that, so I'm not sure if he's going to be willing to do that. If he doesn't give his name, listen, folks, you have to give me your first name or I can't have you on the show. We deal with people. We're not dealing with pixels and your fake little usernames, The Bible says that men love darkness rather than light because their deeds are evil. So if people are not willing to come forward and just at least give their first name, like I said, my name's Chris, I'm from Indiana, I'm 30 years old. If you can't tell me that information, then I'm sorry, we can't have you on the show. I mean, if you don't have a foundation for morality, how am I supposed to trust you if you don't actually give me your name? So anyway, the point is that he may give me his name. But I don't know whether he's actually going to do that or not. If he does, we're going to have him on. He's agreed to come on the show next week. He's an atheist and an evolutionist. He said he doesn't want to discuss evolution. That's perfectly fine. I don't want to pressure people to do that, even though we still have gotten nobody who's willing to come on and present their scientific evidence for evolution. I'm not going to pressure someone to do that. But anyway, he's going to be joining us next week to discuss evolution and morality live on our show. So I'm really hoping I'm looking forward to that. I hope he does show up and decide to meet our guidelines and then come on the show to discuss that, because I would love to have somebody live to go over what I wrote in that article. So anyway, that's all the time we're going to take up for today. I know it's a little shorter than normal, but I've had a long day. I've been working, so I'd like to go and spend some time with my wife and get some rest. So next show is going to be show number. Let's see here. Yeah, it's March 5th. Show number 29, and we will definitely see you guys next time. I hope you'll join us. Thanks for stopping in today. We'll see you next time.